You're about to hear something no one has ever explained to you. Not your friends, not the women you've dated, not the so-called relationship gurus online. And the truth is going to hit you harder than you expect, because once you understand this, you will never see attraction the same way again. You think women fall for looks, charm, confidence, or money? No, they fall for something far more subtle, something so quietly powerful that most men never even notice they're doing it. It's the small, invisible psychological triggers that decide whether a woman sees you as forgettable or unforgettable. And today, I'm going to expose one of the strongest but most overlooked triggers that instantly changes the way she feels about you. Without you needing to chase, impress, or prove anything. If you apply what I'm about to tell you, you'll watch the entire dynamic shift. The way she looks at you will change. The way she replies to you will change. The way she thinks about you when you're not around will shift in ways you can't even imagine. Because once a woman feels something she can't explain, she can't ignore it. That feeling becomes the anchor that pulls her closer, even when she tries to resist it. And the mistake men make is thinking attraction happens through big gestures. No, attraction happens in the small things that hit her emotional core before her logic has time to catch up. So stay with me until the very end, because once you understand this one principle, you'll have a level of influence most men only dream about. Not through manipulation, not through games, but through emotional intelligence that makes her feel something she didn't even know she was craving. The truth begins now. Let's go deeper. When people talk about attraction, they usually go straight to the obvious surface level traits, looks, confidence, money, status. But attraction doesn't begin on the surface. It begins in the subconscious, in the emotional undercurrents we barely notice, but deeply respond to. And one of the most underestimated triggers in that space is the power of a simple nickname. Not the predictable ones, not the recycled ones. I'm talking about the nicknames that slip past her rational mind and land directly in the emotional center of her identity. Because when a woman hears a name that resonates with the version of herself she secretly wants to be seen as, something in her shifts. Something opens. Something attaches. People underestimate how emotional associations work. The human brain is wired to connect words with feelings, moments, micro-experiences. A nickname becomes a cue, a reminder, a signal. When you call her something meaningful, something that captures how you see her, it becomes a small emotional imprint. And every imprint adds up, shaping the way she experiences you. This is why women react instantly. Their tone softens, their guard drops, their energy changes. It's not the word itself, it's the meaning she assigns to it. It's the emotional world you build around that one name. This is where most men fail. They treat nicknames as a habit instead of a psychological tool. They use the same generic words every man uses, thinking they'll have the same effect. But a nickname only becomes powerful when it carries intention. When it's tied to a moment you shared, a quality you noticed, or a part of her personality that nobody else pays attention to. Human beings crave to be seen, truly seen, and women especially respond to the man who notices what others overlook. A nickname becomes the evidence of that awareness. It tells her, without you ever explaining it, that you see her differently. Think about it. When she hears a nickname only you use, her body remembers the feeling of being chosen. It becomes a private emotional language between the two of you. And the more personal that name is, the faster it bypasses her defenses. She can be guarded, cautious, distant. But the right nickname slips under all of that, because her brain doesn't recognize it as a threat. It recognizes it as warmth, familiarity, connection. And attraction grows from that space, not from logic or overthinking. You don't need to impress her with grand gestures. You don't need perfect lines or rehearsed charm. You just need to understand this psychological truth. Women fall for the way a man makes them feel about themselves, not about him, about themselves. And a nickname, One simple word can shift how she feels in your presence more effectively than anything money or physical appearance can offer. This is the emotional intelligence most men never develop. They invest in the wrong areas while ignoring the subtle psychological cues that actually build desire. A woman's emotional brain responds to consistency. If every time she hears your voice saying that one name, she feels appreciated, chosen, understood, she naturally gravitates towards you. She trusts you. She becomes more open with you. She starts associating you with emotional safety. And when a woman feels safe, attraction becomes effortless. It doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to be chased. It unfolds naturally because you've given her a space where her feminine energy feels recognized instead of judged. The nickname you choose doesn't need to be dramatic or poetic. It just needs to be authentic. It needs to reflect the truth of how you perceive her, and when she senses that sincerity, her attraction becomes anchored. She begins to anticipate it. She begins to crave it. She begins to associate that nickname with comfort and excitement at the same time, an emotional duality that is extremely addictive for the female mind. Men often underestimate how deeply a woman feels the small things, but it's the small things that build her trust, shape her loyalty, and ignite her desire. So understand this, you're not just calling her by a name. You're shaping the emotional experience she has with you. You're teaching her how to feel in your presence. And the man who can shape a woman's emotional experience owns her attention in a way no surface-level attraction ever could. That is the real power at play here, the kind of power very few men even realize they possess. Choose the nickname with intention. Deliver it with presence. Let it come from a place of truth, because when a woman feels emotionally seen, every part of her responds. And the man who can make her feel that way becomes unforgettable. Sometimes the smallest word carries the greatest impact if it's spoken with understanding, awareness, and purpose. When you give a woman a nickname, you're not just calling her something cute. You're shaping a version of her that only comes alive in your presence. Human beings are made of identities, layers, roles, most of which are shaped by the people they interact with. We become different versions of ourselves depending on who we're with. And women, more than men, shift into emotional identities that are directly influenced by the energy of the person in front of them. This is why the nickname you choose matters. It's not about the word, it's about the identity it creates. A woman steps into the energy you assign to her. If you call her something generic, she becomes generic around you. If you call her something meaningful, something that reflects her softness, her mystery, her intelligence, or her fire, she becomes that around you. The nickname gives her emotional permission to embody a side of herself she doesn't show the world. You're giving her a doorway into a version of herself that feels cherished, valued, celebrated. And that doorway is something she subconsciously protects, because every woman craves a place where she can soften without losing herself. A nickname becomes a psychological mirror. It reflects back to her who she is in your eyes. And if she likes who she becomes around you, she becomes drawn to you in ways she cannot fully articulate. Most men don't understand this. They think attraction is built by trying to impress a woman. But real attraction is built when a woman likes her own identity in your presence. She attaches to the feeling of who she becomes with you. This is why certain women stay with men who aren't conventionally attractive or wealthy, because the emotional identity those men evoke in them feels authentic, safe, desired. When you give her a nickname that highlights her softness, she becomes softer with you. When you call her something that brings out her playfulness, she relaxes into that role. When you choose a name that emphasizes her strength or resilience, she starts to feel seen in a way the world rarely offers. And that seenness becomes addictive. People aren't addicted to people. They're addicted to the version of themselves they get to be with those people. This is a psychological truth most never learn, and it's why intentional nicknames carry so much emotional weight. Think about how rare it is for a woman to feel uniquely identified by someone. Most of her life, she blends into social roles: daughter, friend, colleague, student, partner. None of these roles fully capture her emotional essence. But the moment a man gives her a nickname that cuts through all of those layers and speaks to her core, she feels discovered. And when a woman feels discovered, she lets her walls down. She becomes more expressive. She opens up emotionally. She trusts deeper. Because the nickname doesn't just name her, it validates her. This is why you cannot choose a nickname carelessly. When the nickname is empty, it fails to create an identity. When it's intentional, it becomes part of the emotional chemistry between you. It becomes a private world she doesn't share with anyone else. And in that world, she gets to feel like the most feminine version of herself, the version that wants to laugh, to be affectionate, to open up, to feel close. The version she doesn't show in public, because vulnerability in today's world feels dangerous. But with the right man, through the right emotional cues, that vulnerability feels safe. A powerful nickname also clarifies roles. It tells her what she represents in your emotional universe. When she feels she has a special role in your life, she naturally responds with more warmth, more presence, more desire. And when she senses that you see her as more than just another woman, her energy shifts from defensive to receptive. This shift is subtle but profound. It's the shift that turns tension into softness, interest into attraction, and casual connection into emotional investment. This is what most men never understand. You are not trying to get her to fall for you. You are trying to create a space where she falls for the version of herself she becomes around you. When you understand this, your entire strategy in relationships changes. You stop trying to perform. You start trying to understand. You stop trying to impress. You start trying to connect. You stop trying to chase. You start allowing her to naturally move closer because the emotional identity you create for her is irresistible. So remember this, the nickname you choose is not just a word, it is the emotional universe you invite her into. And once she enters that universe, she will stay, not because of who you are, but because of who she gets to be with you. Choose the nickname that awakens the best version of her, and she will never forget the man who made her feel that way. When you give a woman a nickname that carries meaning, you're doing something far deeper than just expressing affection. You're establishing a hierarchy in her emotional world, a hierarchy where she suddenly places you above the noise, above the competition, above the men who treat her like a replaceable option. A powerful nickname signals something she rarely experiences: being chosen with intention. And that feeling of being chosen activates attraction faster than anything else because it speaks to a woman's core need for emotional prioritization. Every woman wants to feel like the man she's drawn to sees her as distinct, not just another presence in his life, but a presence with meaning, depth, and significance. Men underestimate how instinctively women evaluate the behavior of a man. They watch everything. They analyze tone, attention, consistency, and the little details he chooses to highlight. And when a man uses a nickname that is uniquely tailored to her, something no other woman hears, something that reflects how he experiences her, it sends a subconscious message: I see you as different. That one signal alone creates more emotional impact than 100 compliments. Because compliments fade, but the identity she wears through the nickname stays with her. It becomes a mirror she looks into every time she interacts with you. Women are biologically wired to look for emotional intelligence in a man, whether they realize it or not. It's part of how their intuition works. It's part of what makes them feel safe or unsafe, open or guarded. When you give her a nickname that is personal, thoughtful, and rooted in genuine observation, what she sees is that you're paying attention in a way most men don't. You're reading her softness, her humor, her quiet strength, or her inner chaos, not just her appearance. This instantly elevates you in her mind because attention is one of the highest forms of emotional currency, and men who give attention with precision stand out without even trying. The truth is, most men are generic because they're distracted. They copy what they've seen, or they use the same script on every woman. But the man who chooses a nickname based on her specific energy, her quirks, her attitude, or the vibe she gives off becomes unforgettable. A woman's mind registers him as someone who sees beyond the surface. And once she feels seen, she naturally feels connected. Connection is the gateway to desire. It's what makes her respond differently to you, what makes her behave differently around you, and what makes her invest more effort into the interaction. But it goes deeper. A powerful nickname establishes emotional exclusivity, and exclusivity ignites attraction. When you call her by a name only you use, it becomes something she protects. People protect what feels intimate. This transforms the dynamic because now you're not just another man in her life. You're the man who gave her an identity she likes, something she aligns with emotionally, something she doesn't want to lose. Attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's about emotional territories. And if you carve out a unique territory in her emotional world, she keeps returning to you because that space feels good. It feels comforting. It feels validating. Women don't fall for men who simply compliment them. They fall for men who define how they feel within the relationship dynamic. If you can give her a name that reflects the version of herself she's proud of, she will attach to you faster than you can imagine. The nickname becomes a symbol of your emotional influence. It becomes a reminder of how she feels when she's with you, and that feeling stays even when you're not around. She could be at work, with friends, at home, or out in the world. And one message from you with that nickname brings her back into your emotional field instantly. This is why emotional intelligence is more powerful than physical charm. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle, but it shapes everything. A man who knows how to create identity, connection, and exclusivity becomes irreplaceable. And the nickname you choose is a tool you use to signal that depth without ever explaining it. She feels it. She interprets it. She responds to it. So remember this truth. You don't become unforgettable by trying to impress her. You become unforgettable by making her feel uniquely valued. A powerful nickname does exactly that. It marks her emotional identity in a way only you control. And once a woman feels uniquely valued, she will always return to the man who made her feel that way. Choose the nickname that makes her feel chosen, and watch how her attraction transforms into something deeper, something real, something lasting.